I've been a big part of a lot of fandoms. I mean, a lot. Before I get into this video, yes, I know all fandoms have bad parts. I hold a lot of these fandoms close to my heart and even say I'm still in some of them, but I just wanted to talk about the worst of the worst. Being the shut-in dweeb I was growing up, instead of having friends in middle school and high school, I spent my time looking at cute anime boys and pretending they were my real-life husbandos. I grew up in the new age of the internet, so I was in the new era of weird shut-ins who all liked the same show. I got really into it when I was in 9th grade, and that's when I officially started using Tumblr more than ever before. And that's where I found most of these fandoms. Hands down, one of the most toxic fandoms I've ever had the displeasure of being involved in was the Undertale fandom. I was a big part of this fandom back in my OG DeviantArt days. Before I started YouTube, I was just on DeviantArt trying to get clout by drawing. Found my clout by drawing Undertale characters and capitalizing on their ridiculously large fandom. To my surprise, it worked, and I gained a following on DeviantArt. The character my page was most famous for was Sans. That's who I would draw the most, and yes, I did have an OC. A vampire because, you know, Mary Sue. I white knighted her, of course. To me, she was not a Mary Sue because I created a Mary Sue complex background for her. And yes, she was Sans' love interest. I don't know what was wrong with me, okay? I'll do a video about my OCs one day, but right now we're talking about Sans. So I would draw Sans a lot. For quite a while, my DeviantArt was just Sans. But over time, I started getting tired of the clout for the shit art, because I literally would just shit out drawings of Sans and it would get 100 favorites. That might not seem like a lot for some people, but on DeviantArt, that was the peak of favorites for a small page like me. I got really tired of it and mad that people watching me only wanted to see one thing. So one day, I just stopped drawing Undertale, and my favorites and comments went back to next to nothing. I refused to be limited as an artist just by my need for attention and affection. But anyway, the toxic fandom part. Now, I got a lot of comments on my art, some good, some bad. People attacked me for my OC. I mean, I don't blame them. But at the time, I was angry about that sort of behavior. And when I went to Tumblr for more fandom juice, when I was in the midst of the fandom, I found stuff that just, ugh. Lots of incest porn, fics and porn of the characters. Like I said, this is just part of any fandom, but I swear to God, I looked up Undertale and the top result was sans porn. I'm not in that fandom anymore, so I don't know if it's gotten better or worse, but that was just my time in the fandom. The second fandom I wanted to talk about, that I've got personal experience in, is the Steven Universe fandom. I was never a huge part of this fandom, but the dark parts of this fandom are dark. I'm sure everyone's heard about this, but the Tumblr fandom almost bullied a girl into suicide. In fact, bullied her to the verge. All because she drew rose quartz thin. Like, I understand that people get upset when characters aren't drawn the correct way, but what's wrong with stylized art? Jesus. And is it really worth bullying a girl to the point of her wanting to die? Just goddamn, the SU fandom needs to chill out. Parts I've been in are actually chill and cool, and I think it's great that the show is inclusive to all shapes and sizes. I've even made a gemsona in the past. Another horrible fandom that we all know is the Rick and Morty fandom. Do I even really need to get into this? Everyone knows about Pickle-Ree and the Szechuan sauce madness, and of course the infamous, "To be fair, you have to have a very high IQ to understand Rick and Morty. The humor is extremely subtle. Without a solid grasp of theoretical physics, most of the jokes would go over the typical viewer's head. There is also Rick's nihilistic outlook, which is deftly woven into his characterization. His personal philosophy draws heavily from Undertale literature, for instance. The fans understand this stuff. They have the intellectual capacity to truly appreciate the depths of these jokes, to realize that they're not just funny. They say something deep about life. As a consequence, for people who dislike Rick and Morty truly are idiots. Of course, they wouldn't appreciate, for instance, the humor in Rick's existential catchphrase, which itself is a cryptic reference to Turgenev's Russian epic fathers and sons. I'm smirking right now just imagining one of those adipated simpletons scratching their heads in confusion as Dan Harmon's genius wit unfolds itself on their television screens. What fools. And yes, by the way, I do have a Rick and Morty tattoo. And no, you cannot see it, for it's for the ladies' eyes only. And even then, they have to demonstrate they're in within 5 IQ points of my own, preferably lower beforehand. Nothing personal, kid. The thing that really gets my goat the most is the Rick and Morty shipping. I get that the creator himself once said, since there are unlimited parallel Ricks, there's a universe where Rick and Morty are together, but goddamn, no, it's so... no, stop. Rick is not only super old, he's his grandpa. The fan art that is around is just really gross. Like, not only is it illegal in most states, it's pedophilia. Morty is 12, goddammit. 12. Just stop, please. Yuck. Do I think Rick and Morty is a bad show? Will I stop watching it because of the garbage fandom? No, I won't. I still think it's a really good show, and I'm still mad about how they ended season 3. The next one might hit a little close to home for some of you. The Logang and the Jake Paulers. I truly don't know what Jake calls his fan base. These two groups are some of the most toxic groups I've probably ever witnessed. A lot of YouTubers have toxic fans, but these two, they take the cake. Let's start with the Logang. Now, first of all, that name just makes me cringe right into myself. These kids will defend anything Logan does, even when he defiles a suicide victim or disrespects a culture. For some reason, it's okay. They will defend him endlessly to anyone that dares talk crap about their hero. And I think they think this way because Logan makes himself look like he's a good guy. He justified his Suicide Forest video by saying no one had ever posted anything like this, and that he was spreading awareness, when in reality, him and his friends laughed at a dead man. Then, his fans gave him another pass when he did a PR stunt and talked to someone who survived a suicide attempt. And PewDiePie, who had a big scandal in the past, said he was told to do the exact same thing, just with someone who had experienced racism or being called a racial slur. Logan wasn't being genuine when he did all that stuff. He was doing it to protect his money, not even his image. I don't think he cares about what people think about him. He cares when he's at risk for losing his money or his fame. As for Jake, it's basically the same thing. Jake is just more of a stupid kid and makes it more obvious than Logan does that he's here for money and fame. Neither of them care that people hate them. They only care about money. When their kid fans grow up, they will lose their fame and fortune. That's how it's always been on YouTube. Another one that I am part of, the Star Wars fandom. Since this is such a massive fandom, there is of course crazy fans that are horrible and vicious. When you love something that much, you are going to be a little crazy. But people were just very upset about the movies to the point they sent death threats to one of the directors over The Last Jedi. People even tried to make him sign a petition to remake the movie, which honestly I kind of agree with. The Last Jedi was trash and I'm not even a hardcore fan. I went into it very open-minded and I left very confused and wondering what the fuck just happened. They sent death threats to Kelly Marie. While she didn't deserve death threats, the addition of that character was stupid and pointless. Why did they force the love story? I don't know. But harassing an actress for doing her job is unacceptable. She didn't write her lines. Fandom is so big, it's pretty much impossible to please everyone. Like, some people think the prequels are trash while others love them to bits. There's constant fighting on every social media about the movies because there's endless differing opinions. It wasn't just Kelly that got harassed. Daisy Ridley, the actress who plays Rey, left Instagram after months of endless harassment. It's a character, guys. I understand Rey is a Mary Sue to the core and feels more like a fanfiction character more than anything, but going and harassing the actress who was just reciting lines is not acceptable. The Last Jedi was even bullshitted as being against men for some reason, probably because of the abundance of female characters, which me as a woman has no problem with. I have a problem with the way these women are portrayed. They aren't written right. Rey, for some reason, is an all-powerful Mary Sue with a personality and emotional spectrum of a porg. And Rose, my god, don't get me started on Rose. Like I said, I'm not even a big fan, but I was sitting there in the theater wondering who this woman was and what relevance she had to literally anything. Who are you and why are you here? The original 3 characters were okay. Poe and Finn were pretty well-rounded. Just because Rey had a sad background, it doesn't make her any less of a Mary Sue. She can all of a sudden just use the Force one day instead of training the way Luke did. And don't even get me started on the villains in the sequels, because just, oh my god, okay. It's not really got anything to do with the fandom, but I have a lot of shit to say about these characters because okay, in the first sequel, like, I thought Kylo was cool. I was like, dang, okay, he's a little edgy, but honestly, he's kind of cool. And then in The Last Jedi, they completely turned him into the biggest baby bitch ever, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, what? Like, he was edgy and a baby in the first one, but now he's even more of an edgy baby, and it's just, like, please. I want villains to be scary. I'm not scared of Kylo. He is a baby bitch boy, but yeah, that's just my tea. People even tried to boycott Solo, which I saw with my Star Wars fanatic boyfriend twice. Honestly, a good movie. I was invested in it despite not really know what was going on most of the time. My boyfriend said there were lots of references and nods to old movies and comic books that only OG fans would get, but it didn't take away from the movie for the fans who didn't read or watch everything else. But it did shit because everyone assumed it would be a bad movie after The Last Jedi. People even claimed it would push the social justice warrior agenda, which it didn't at all, but people are crazy. Anyway, I'm sure there's fandoms I missed, but I hope you guys are liking the new art style. I was getting a bunch of criticism about it, so I talked to my fans and they helped me change it up. Follow me on Insta, Twitter, join the Discord, links in the description below. Thanks for watching.